Hi guys, today I'm talking about motherhood and your mental health. Now, I suppose I'm coming from the perspective of somebody who would have had pre existing mental health issues prior to having a baby, but I'm going to be talking about things in a general context. So, hopefully, there's stuff here that's applicable to everyone. Now, can I just start off by saying that talking about parenting in negative terms is no reflection whatsoever on your love for your child nor on your capabilities as a parent. And I think that differentiation needs to be made strongly because so many women who come to me are experiencing such struggles and yet have been in a dark place for far too long because of the guilt and the shame they feel with vocalizing their experience, with talking about how it is for them. There's such an ambivalence that goes with motherhood, that love of your child, that love being a parent, that gratitude for being a parent, whilst also not necessarily loving parenting as a verb. So it's important to make that differentiation. It's important to recognize that if you're not particularly enjoying life right now, that's okay. It's okay to talk about it, because ultimately becoming a mother is the ultimate identity shift. I mean, you just become a different person. Your independence is suddenly gone out the window, for want of a better phrase, and you're in on demand all the time, and that can be really, really difficult, particularly if you struggle with mental health issues or with anxiety. And I do feel there's a lot of self-care articles out there that aren't all that helpful. I mean, yes, it's grand saying, oh, go for a coffee, with your child, and like, I know if I go for a coffee with my child, there is no hope in hell that I get to sit. Even if I go to one of those play areas, I mean, he literally has this radar for the places that he's not meant to be, and he just goes straight for them. So I actually find it's more stressful than anything else. So it's about finding things that work for you. Oftentimes the things that we need to do to look after our mental health, such as being able to take time, to sit with our emotions, to sit with our thoughts, doesn't happen with the child. I mean, when your child is having a meltdown in the middle of Tesco, and you're just seeing all of the people looking at you, who, by the way, don't really give a shit, and you really shouldn't pay any heed to them, but that's so difficult when you're in that moment, when you're in that particular struggle, and you don't get a chance to take time to work through everything that it is that you're experiencing. So it's about finding ways of implementing self-care that work specifically for you. And one of the worst bits of advice that I get is, oh, it'd be grand. It's only a year, or it's only 3 years. It's a short amount of time, which is so unhelpful when you're really struggling, or when you're feeling like as if your life has been turned upside down. Because ultimately, when you're in the midst of struggling with motherhood, it can just feel like as if your world is falling apart. And I mean, ultimately, you've changed completely. Your brain structure changes when you have a baby. You become more aware and more alert. Now, that's necessary in order to look after your child. You need to be always tuned in to when they're crying. You need to be aware of where the next meal is coming from. It's an evolutionary thing. However, it does lead to higher anxiety, higher stress, higher irritability. And naturally, you can't take that out on your child, so you tend to take it out on yourself and on your partner. And that leads to disconnect in the relationship, the one place that you're meant to find solace with your child. I mean, ultimately, you co-created this. I mean, all of a sudden, you've become enemies. It's you versus him, as opposed to you and him versus parenting. And it's important that you try to recognize that as often as possible. You try to recognize the areas that you're feeling resentment, feeling anger, feeling isolation, and try to reach out to your partner as opposed to pushing them away. And resentment comes. I mean, I know I work from home, my husband goes out to work, and oftentimes if I'm working upstairs, I'll still be able to kind of hear my little lad if he's having a tantrum or anything like that. And you can never switch off that mom ear, and it's just so stressful. And you're kind of like, oh, I need to go down and see what's happening, and that can be really difficult. So you end up like, Jesus, he gets to go out to work and I have to work in these conditions, and it's all very self-righteous. But I mean, that sort of stuff builds up on you, and it's about being able to vent, being able to let it go, being able to talk about it, because otherwise it will consume you, it will eat you up inside. Parenting is stressful, it is anxiety provoking, and it's okay to talk about that. I mean, then there's the whole physical side of your relationship. It's very difficult when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling strained, to feel that intimacy with your partner. And it's about making time for each other, making sure that you still get time to enjoy each other as the people you were before baby came along. Because parenting can just take the whole lot and turn it upside down. So it's about acknowledging that it's okay to talk about any experience it is that you're having. I mean, ultimately, parenting is a gift. It's so beautiful, but it is also a struggle, and it can be so difficult, so isolating, and so never ending, you know? So being kind to yourself, learning to be compassionate to yourself, learning to find ways of easing your anxiety. I mean, oftentimes, as I said, we feel such guilt over feeling frustrated that we find these negative ways of self-soothing, and we end up in the fridge, or we end up zoning out for hours on our phones instead of trying to connect with other people, instead of trying to reach out. And as I said, it's not always easy to reach out, because sometimes reaching out means bringing your child with you, and that has its own stresses. So it's about asking people to help you, to accommodate you, to maybe call in to see you, as opposed to you having to go out and meet them. I mean, there's always a way out, there's always a way to make things easier. It's just about finding them. If you are struggling with your experience of motherhood, please get in touch on the website. It's fundamentals.ie, or you can catch me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm also doing regular content these days on a YouTube channel. It's Fiona Feely, so go check it out. Lots of content for your mental health, for anxiety, for how to find more fulfillment and satisfaction in life. So go check it out, like, share, subscribe, and let me know what you think.